They observe everything, absorb everything, feel everything, but they also analyze everything, dissect it, deconstruct it. That's the paradox of a Sigma INFJ. On one hand, they carry an empath's heart, able to feel the subtle shifts in a person's energy without a word spoken. On the other, they wield a mind that questions everything, including those emotions themselves. When logic and empathy clash, it's not a momentary conflict. It's a lifelong war inside a personality that is built to understand too much, too deeply, and too fast. Part 1. The Watchers of Emotion, the Analysts of Pattern Sigma. ENFJs are natural empaths, but they're not ruled by it. They feel pain that doesn't belong to them, yet they don't spiral. Instead, they step back, examine the source, the intention, the history behind it. To most people, empathy is spontaneous and uncontrolled. To them, it's a system, a radar, a tool to understand and survive. But this ability to observe and feel simultaneously puts them in conflict. When they see someone hurting, their empathy urges them to soothe. Their logic, however, whispers, not everyone who hurts is harmless. So they hesitate, they evaluate, they question motives, timing, consequences, and in that hesitation, they often seem cold, distant. But that pause is where their depth lives. Part 2. The guilt of knowing too much. This internal clash doesn't just affect their relationships, it affects their conscience. They understand that someone is acting out of trauma, but also recognize the damage it's causing. They see the wounded child behind the adult's cruelty, but they still flinch from the blow. Empathy says, forgive them. Logic replies, protect yourself. They don't walk away lightly. Every boundary they draw is traced in emotional calculations. They question whether they're abandoning someone who needs them or enabling someone who's using them. It's exhausting, carrying both sides of the story at all times. Part 3. In conversations, they speak in layers. This conflict shows in the way they speak. A Sigma INFJ will never give a surface-level answer. They're always weighing both the emotional truth and the logical reality. So when someone asks for advice, they respond carefully, acknowledging feelings while subtly nudging toward perspective. They won't tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you what your heart is feeling and what your mind is avoiding. This dual lens makes them excellent counselors, terrible manipulators, and emotionally complex partners. They can articulate your pain better than you can. But when their own pain rises, they fall silent, because even their suffering is filtered through logic. Is this fair to say? Is this feeling true or just temporary? What will this change if I say it out loud? Part 4. Relationships that test their boundaries. Most of the time, the conflict between logic and empathy is quiet, hidden beneath polite smiles and distant eyes. But in relationships, it becomes deafening. They feel the other person's insecurities before they're spoken. They notice the small lies, the subtle avoidance, the energy shifts. And because they care, they want to fix it. But logic intervenes. It reminds them that not everything can be fixed, that some people don't want healing, that being kind isn't always the same as being safe. This makes their love both healing and terrifying. They will nurture someone with unwavering care until that person shows a pattern of destruction. Then they detach with surgical precision, because logic always wins when the cost of empathy is self-destruction. Part 5. The world doesn't understand the battle. To outsiders, they appear contradictory. Too kind to be distant, too rational to be so emotionally intense, too quiet to be so aware. But this is their nature. They see a broken system and want to fix it. They feel a person's pain and want to ease it. But they also see patterns, cycles, consequences. So they remain caught between their emotional instinct to care and their mental demand for clarity. They're not indecisive. They're simply playing chess on two boards, one emotional, one logical. And every move matters. Part 6. The inner cost of emotional intelligence. This clash isn't just a behavioral trait, it's emotional taxation. They leave social situations emotionally drained. Not because they dislike people, but because they can't stop scanning, assessing, feeling. A single conversation can echo in their mind for hours, dissected for intent, tone, truth. They often feel emotionally overextended yet misunderstood. Not because they didn't give enough, but because what they gave was invisible. They don't just think and feel, they synthesize. And that kind of processing can make even simple interactions feel monumental. Mastering the balance. Over time, Sigma INFJs learn to reconcile this war within. They don't kill their empathy, they temper it with wisdom. They don't reject logic, they infuse it with compassion. They start setting boundaries before they burn out. They learn that saying no doesn't make them unkind. They stop offering healing to those who weaponize their wounds. And in doing so, they discover something rare: the ability to lead with empathy without being led by it. Part 8. The quiet power of dual perception. What makes Sigma INFJs powerful is not just that they feel or that they think, but that they do both and still manage to stand tall. They aren't always understood, they don't explain themselves, and they often leave others wondering, how can someone so soft be so unshakable? The answer lies in that inner clash. The friction between logic and empathy has carved something sharp inside them. Not hardness, but clarity. So when people call them mysterious or unreadable, it's not a performance, it's precision. They don't reveal their inner world easily because they know how complex it is. And if someone wants access to it, they'll need to bring more than curiosity. They'll need to bring care and comprehension. Because behind the stillness, behind the patience, behind the gentle words, there's a mind sorting every detail and a heart still willing to feel it all.